Welcome back to my channel, guys. So in this video I'm going to show you guys how I made this lovely off shoulder gown with this side drape. So if you're new to this channel, kindly subscribe, and you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Casey Signatures. So let's begin. Patterns that I use to create the top part of this gown are my basic off shoulder patterns for my front, for my back, as well as for my sleeves. So I went ahead to cut this out on my fabric, as you can see. The neckline has this little V, this little V shape down the center front line there. So moving on to the back, we have the zip allowance at the center back as well as the dots. I went ahead to transfer it to my fabric like so and just cut it out, as you can see. So for my sleeves, like I said before, it's your basic off shoulder sleeves. As you can see, I cut out two for this, one for the right hand side and one for the left hand side. So what I'm going to do next is just to place these patterns on my lining and just cut it out. So the lower part of this gown, I used my basic skirt pattern for my front and my back to cut this out. So like I said, the basic skirt pattern, but the only difference is that along the knee line, I extended it from the knee line all the way down towards the ankle area, where I wanted the gown to stop, including my hemming allowance and all that. So this is what the front skirt pattern looks like, and this is the back. As you can see, we have the dots there and the zip allowance at the center back, and it's the same length with the front. So moving on to sew this, what I did was to place my fabric like so, matching up bust line to bust line, under bust to under bust, and I'm just going to pin it down first before I take this to my sewing machine and sew it from the waistline all the way up like so. I also went ahead to sew up the dots for my back for both sides, as you can see, and also that's for my skirt for the front part as well as for the back part. So moving on, I'm just showing you guys here that I sewed up the dots for my skirt, for my back skirt here. So the next thing I did was to place my lining on my main fabric, that's on the right side of my main fabric here, and I'm just going to sew along the hem like so, all the way up, along this center back area where the zip will sit, all the way up to the waistline, and then flip it over to the wrong side. So I also got myself here my front skirt pattern with the lining. So I'm basically going to do what I did for the front, just placing the lining on the right side of the fabric like so. So I'm just placing it well because I'm going to turn the hem with the lining. That I'm going to sew along the hemline like so, and then flip the lining over to the wrong side. So this is my sleeve. Like you can see, I placed my lining on the main fabric like so. I'm going to sew the top and the bottom and then flip it over to the wrong side. So this is my back fabric with the lining. I'm going to sew along the neckline and along the center back like so, and then I'll flip it over to the wrong side. So this is what my front pattern looks like. Okay, I told you guys before, I just went on ahead to just sew it, joining the dots, as you can see. So this is what my lining looks like. I joined it exactly the same way that I joined the front, and I'm going to place it right sides facing each other and sew up the neckline. Then I'll flip it over to the back. So this is what the back, this is what it looks like right now. So you can see this is my front skirt pattern, and I'm just going to my front pattern, sorry, and I'm just going to go on to top stitch the neckline. So moving on to my sleeves, I'm just going to flip it over like so and join up the sides. I'll do this for both sleeves. So I'm just showing you guys here that I went on ahead to top stitch the neckline, keeping the lining in place on the wrong side. So what I did next was to pin my back fabric on my front fabric like so, and I'm just going to join up the sides. So we'll have one full, I don't know how to put this, but one full fabric, to join with the skirt part and all that. So this is what it looks like right now. The front is joined up with the back. Now the next step is to fix the sleeves. So these are what my sleeves look like here. I went on ahead to sew up the sides like I showed you guys earlier on. So what I'm going to do now is to find the midpoint of the sleeve. That's not really the midpoint, the side seam. So I'm going to find the side seam of the sleeve. I'm going to match that up to the side seam of this top part, and I'm just going to pin it, matching up all the sides like so, the front to the back, front to the front, and the back to the back. And I'm just going to sew it all the way. So this is what my skirt pattern looks like. This is for my front, and I got myself 1 yard of net. That's to create that side drape, and this is what my back pattern looks like. So what I'm going to do now is to place this net. Like I told you, I got 1 yard of this red net. So what I'm going to do is to pleat it along the side seam of this skirt pattern, and I'm going to mark about 4 inches below the hip line like so, because this is where I want the pleats to stop. So I'm going to start pleating from about 2 inches below that waistline there. So I started pleating by about 2 inches below the waistline, and you have to make sure that your pleats are even. So you take your time when you're pleating it, as you can see. And I'm just going to continue, pleating it, and I'll make sure that I stop at that part that I marked, 4 inches below the hip line and all that. So this is what it looks like right now. Like I told you, you have to start about 2 inches below your waistline and all that. So what I'm doing now is just gathering this all up towards the other side of this skirt pattern. As you can see, just arranging it and just gathering it all up. Now I'm just going to sew that down, holding it down, and I'll make sure that it's about 1 inch up away from the side seam. So let me show you guys 1 inch away from that side seam area there. So I went on ahead to use a needle and thread to hold it in place before taking it to my sewing machine, because if you just use pins to hold it and take it to your sewing machine, um it's going to move, the pins will move out and the pleats will just move and all that. So that's why I went in with my needle and thread first to hold both sides together. So the next step was to place my back skirt pattern on my front pattern like so, arranging it, and I'm going to sew from the top all the way to the bottom. As you can see, so we sew from the top all the way down like so, and I went on ahead to join the top parts to the skirt parts along that waistline. So this is what it looks like right now. So the next step is to pin your zip along the center back area. So this is what it looks like now, and I'm going to sew it up, using my zip foot. So once I'm done doing that, the next step is to close up the center back area. But like I said before, this back skirt is going to have a slit. It's going to have a slit at the back, so I'm going to stop my stitches by about 2 inches below my knee line. So I'm going to stop my stitches right there, 2 inches below my knee line. So this is what it looks like right now. Also this was the finished look, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so, and I'll see you guys in my next video.